Stocks trend up this week, or today rather, as oil prices jump back above zero and a new stimulus package could be coming out. The first cases of the COVID seem to have come into the U.S. much earlier than expected. CNN hates the fact that Fox News isn't talking about hydroxychloroquine anymore, and Whitmer awards a contract from the state to a Democratic consultant. In other news, Biden rules out another running mate, and Gronkowski might be going to the Buccaneers. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. You know, looking at the news this morning, I'm pretty sure that everybody is just absolutely sick of the breathless, edge of your seat coverage of everything that we've been talking about hydroxychloroquine and COVID and coronavirus for the last month and a half because they just look bored. I looked over at Fox News and you've got these just junk headlines out there. Well, we're blaming China for this, and Bruce Willis may be moving in with Demi Moore instead of his current wife, and just the normal, slow news day kind of fluff pieces that they have out there to fill out their website. I know there was something just breaking about the Middle East here, but I didn't have enough time to go vet it a couple different places before we could put it up here, but that is probably going to be on the table for tomorrow as well, so we'll talk a bit about that. But before we get into the news that I could find out here, make sure you head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We've got my shows, we've got Stephen Ignoramus's shows, we've got both of the Generational Gap shows, and many other things that are coming out from those guys. It looks like John has figured out how to do streaming on his own and has been doing some philosophy type things. We've got Wyatt Birkenhoff's channels over there. We've got the R-Rated Conservative. And please, as always, help us welcome Freckles and Britt. Their newest episode is up there for the first time. So go and check them out over there and give them a subscription if you don't already. So first things first, we're going to go into our stocks for the day. From Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones today poised to bounce as oil prices wobble. Netflix dives, Facebook takes a stake in India. From Alan R. Elliott. Stock futures positioned for a rebound on Wednesday as oil prices sought equilibrium and federal legislators pushed a new round of stimulus to counteract the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Snap soared, Netflix dived on earnings. Chip stocks AMD and ASML Holdings rose toward buy points. Pfizer topped the Dow Jones today as coronavirus vaccine candidate received testing approval. Dow Jones futures climbed 1.2% above fair value, while S&P 500 futures notched at a 1.4% gain. NASDAQ 100 futures swung 1.7% higher on the stock market today, boosted by Facebook and by rebounding chip stocks. Expedia jumped 4.6% to the top of the NASDAQ. New report late Tuesday said the company was preparing to sell a possible $1 billion share of the company to private equity firms Silver Lake and Apollo Global Management. Facebook was also an early NASDAQ leader, up 3.2%. The company announced Tuesday it has taken a $5.7 billion stake in Geo Platforms, about 10% of the economy. The company rather. The company runs, among other things, a wireless mobile network boasting 388 million users. That's news. I didn't know that they had a wireless network. I'm going to go get me a cell phone, and I think the best company is going to be the company that has been accused of spying and selling data for the last 10 years. Great idea, great idea. 388 million users. 388 million people thought that was a good idea. That's awesome. Chip stocks were lined up for early gains after Teradyne's strong first quarter report last Tuesday. ASML Holdings, Applied Materials, Lam Research, and Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, all gained around 3%. ASML and AMD are below buy points. AMD is an IBD leaderboard stock. Earnings provided some powerful input to Wednesday's pre-market action. Snapchat parent Snap spiked 19% on a strong quarter one performance. Delta Airlines angled up 3.3% despite first quarter results decimated by the coronavirus lockdowns. Chipotle Mexican Grill rallied more than 6% after a big earnings surprise. Chipotle and Qdoba are kind of like the ultimate takeout, though, because even if you eat into the restaurant, which you haven't been allowed to do forever, they give it to you in a little portable foam bowl, so I'm not 100% surprised. There were also losers. Netflix dropped 1.6% despite crushing expectations for new subscriber growth in the first quarter. The IBD 50 stock is extended 10% above a 393.62 buy point in a cup base. Yeah, everyone got done watching Tiger King and then they bailed. Coronavirus earnings. Quest, Thermo Fisher, Biogen. Thermo Fisher, a key supplier of the reagents critical to coronavirus testing, jumped 4.3% after reporting above forecast earnings and revenue for its first quarter. Quest Diagnostics gained 3.8% after its first quarter revenue comfortably topped analyst estimates and revenue slipped less than expected. Management, which drew full-year guidance in March, suspended the company's share buyback through the end of the year. Quest stock is testing resistance at its 50-day moving average. Quest announced on Monday it had begun testing patients for coronavirus antibodies. Antibodies potentially provide resistance to COVID-19 infections. Biogen dived more than 7% despite first quarter earnings that easily topped the analyst consensus target. Revenue stopped just short of estimates, however. The company said sales accelerated due to the coronavirus pandemic, led up to $100 million in additional sales during the quarter. So it looks like we've got some good news coming in your stocks, and I do hope some of you guys bought in the bottom. I know I got my hands into a little bit at the bottom there, but given where I was sitting at the time, not very much, but hopefully we shall. We've got another story here from CNBC. Dow futures jumped 350 points to session high as oil stages sharp turnaround. This is from Fred Imbert and Maggie Fitzgerald. U.S. stock futures pointed to strong gains at the open on Wednesday following a recent weakness in the markets aggravated by oil's massive decline as crude prices attempted to stabilize in early trading. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures rose 350 points or 1.5%. Futures for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 also pointed to strong gains at the open. The West Texas Intermediate contract for June was up 12.3%, trading at $12.99 a barrel after an earlier decline. Brent futures, meanwhile, were up 5.9% at $20.48 per barrel, recovering from sharp overnight drops. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was driving home last night and I saw 99-cent gas. I almost stopped. I should have. But I will be stopping tonight, so Ed's World Gaming might be just a little bit late because I'm going to be going and getting some of that sweet, sweet gasoline. A slew of companies also got a lift from solid earnings results, giving the broader market a boost. Chipotle posted better than expected profit, sending stock up more than 6% in the pre-market. Kimberly-Clark and Snap, which Kimberly-Clark is a toilet paper distributor, gained 1.1% and 19.6% respectively after both companies released their latest quarterly results. Helping sentiment, Senate Republicans and Democrats on Tuesday passed a $484 billion coronavirus relief package that focused on small businesses, hospitals, and testing. The House could approve the bill as early as Thursday. On Tuesday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost about 630 points, bringing its weekly decline to more than 1,000 points. The 30-stock index was dragged down by Merck, which lost 5.5%, and Boeing, which fell more than 5%. The S&P 500 also experienced sharp declines, falling more than 3%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite dropped about 3.5%, its worst daily performance since April 1st. The market sell-off this week came beside massive losses in the oil market due to the evaporation of demand. Oil prices are tanking and spreading to more futures contracts, worrying investors about the deep economic damage being done by the coronavirus shutdowns. So, oil's holding on to our economy, and that's been the way it's been since the 70s, so that's nothing new. Now I've got a little bit from CCN here, but I know they're not news guards, so please take this with a grain of salt. But it was something interesting I saw because JP Morgan was the one that said that we are going into the Great Depression 2.0, and people were never going to be able to recover from this one here. But CCN says Dow futures bounce as JP Morgan signals all-time highs in 2020. JP Morgan analyst predicts a return to all-time highs at the end of the year based on new research that shows sunlight can kill coronavirus spread. This is from Ben Brown. The stock market is poised to open higher on Wednesday after 2 days of back-to-back losses. Dow Jones futures point to a 330-point bounce as Wall Street analysts begin to get hopeful again. The most optimistic of all is JP Morgan strategist Marko Kolanovic. He sees the U.S. stock market recovering to its record high by the end of the year. Kolanovic cited that new data that shows the coronavirus can be destroyed by sunlight. If the data is correct, we could see case numbers decline significantly over the summer and a limited reopening of the economy. Dow futures contracts turned positive in the early hours of Wednesday, jumping 330 points, 1.46%. It's a welcome break for traders after 2 days of heavy selling, coupled with a historic collapse in the oil price. Kolanovic accurately predicted that the recent relief rally, which saw stocks bounce 30% off the local bottom, he used quantitative analysis of hospital admissions to anticipate the peak of the New York coronavirus cases. Now he turns his attention to the reopening of the economy. Kolanovic anticipates that businesses could therefore reopen sooner than many expect. As a result, he put a 3,400 target on the S&P 500 for the end of the year. As you can see in the chart, that would put us right back at record highs. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb also suggested that summer could be a turning point for the outbreak. Speaking to CNBC, he said that businesses could begin to operate outdoors in the near future. He even urged local governments to start relaxing laws that prohibit outdoor seating and other business activities. So, like I said, that's just something that I wanted to point out because it was JP Morgan that said the big Great Depression is going to be coming, and now they're saying that we could be right back to where we were. It's funny. As we were coming in to the COVID thing, I got into an argument with somebody over on Twitter saying that the stock market was at an all-time high and the economy was going great, and he assured me that it was coming. That the crash was coming and we were soon going to be into a depression that we were never going to be able to get out of. That Trump was going to crash the economy. This was back at the beginning of February. He told me this. When the stock market hit the bottom back in the beginning of March, he sought out the tweet, retweeted it out, and I got the alert for it to say that he told me so and that the economy was going to crash as we were getting down to the highest point that Obama ever got to. And then it turns out that we didn't stay at the bottom forever. And looking at the charts, it hit a V. We got to the bottom, and now it's coming up to the top. And I'm not one to gloat on this really, but I said that, I didn't reply to the guy because he was obviously looking for a fight off of this or looking for some MAGA guy to go and justify him, which I am not a MAGA guy. But for the most part, yes, we are Americans, we are entrepreneurs, and we are hard workers. So as soon as we got the chance to get out there and turn this right back around, we did. And once again, the economy is not the stock market and vice versa. But as I always say, when the stock market is going down, according to those that are opposed to the president, the stock market is the economy. And when it's going up, the stock market is not the economy. So keep that all borne in mind. Let's see. I've got one more here on stocks before we get into the COVID cases. And we've got even a transitional one in between there. From CNN Business, oil closes at $10, but the market remains broken. This is from Julia Horowitz. Want to know just how serious a blow the coronavirus pandemic has dealt to markets and the economy? Look at the price of oil. On Monday, U.S. oil to be delivered in May settled at negative $37.60 a barrel, but the first negative close in history. That means producers, which are running out of storage space as demand for energy collapses, are willing to pay buyers to take crude off their hands. That's never happened before for West Texas Intermediate futures, the U.S. benchmark. The price of the barrel of WTI crude to be delivered in May has since turned positive. It settled Tuesday at 10.01 a barrel, a drop of 84% from its recent high in January. The contract closed Tuesday, which means trading was light, and most investors were looking ahead to June. But this isn't just a case of odd market mechanics. The price of a barrel of WTI crude to be delivered the following month also plunged. It settled down 43% at $11.57 per barrel. At one point Tuesday, June oil fell as low as $6.50. Brent crude futures, the global benchmark, dived below $19 a barrel on Tuesday to their lowest level since 2002, a nearly 26% decline. "I'm shell-shocked," said Bjornar Tonhagen, head of oil markets at Rystad Energy. "There is normally some volatility at the end of a contract period, but this indicates that the oil market is officially broken as storage piles up," he said. "There's a particular concern about how much space is left in Cushing, Oklahoma, the delivery hub for WTI. The effects of dirt-cheap crude will ripple through the economy even in a $20 oil environment. 533 U.S. oil exploration and production companies will file for bankruptcy by the end of 2021, according to Rystad Energy. The problem isn't going away. No one can say when demand for oil will recover, and even once the lockdowns end, it will take some time for refineries to get back up to speed," Tonhagen said. "Similar issues could arise when June contract comes due in a month. There's a lot of oil and no real place to put it right now, so no one wants to take delivery of it," said Randy Gibbons, a Jefferies analyst. As onshore storage fills up, Gibbons has tracked a boom in floating storage where traders and producers can stash oil to deliver at a later date for a higher price. Over the past 10 years, traders or producers would typically spend $25,000 per day in April for a supertanker or VLCC, which can store 2 million barrels of crude. According to Gibbons, that price has now jumped to about $150,000 per day, a six-fold increase. "We've seen more contracts for floating storage in the last 4 weeks than for the past 4 years combined," Gibbons said. "The incredible dislocation in oil markets is just a sign of how much the coronavirus pandemic is upending investors. Even as stocks have stabilized, the effects could be felt for months and years to come. So, like I said, go out and get that cheap gas, and if you've got a can or two, fill it up, because they're looking to refine more, and they're looking to get more of this out of storage here. This whole pump thing, this whole oil war thing that we ignored, the news media ignored for 2 months, is really going to start hurting things, and that's something we've got to pay attention to and keep going on. So, yes, let's make sure that we get some of that oil pumped and get some of that cheap gas. Especially, like I said, get some gas cans and get some home storage if you can. And turn that heater on just a little bit too if it's cold enough to do so. I know usually I'll keep the heater off for a little while at this point. Even if it gets a little bit cold, I'll throw an extra blanket on, but I'm throwing it on for the cause. All right, next story here. Senate passes $484 billion Phase 3.5 coronavirus stimulus package by voice vote amid tensions in the chamber. This is from Greg Ree over at Fox News. The Senate Tuesday passed a nearly $500 billion coronavirus Phase 3.5 relief bill that would replenish a small business rescue program known as the Paycheck Protection Program, provide hospitals with another $75 billion, and implement a nationwide virus testing program to facilitate reopening the economy. The measure passed by a voice vote, which simply requires each side to holler yay or nay, with the louder side winning. Ahead of the bill's passage, some Republicans voiced their frustrations that there was not a full roll call vote, even as some senators remained at home amid the pandemic. "This is not acceptable," Senator Mike Lee said on the Senate floor. "We should not be passing legislation without Congress actually being in session." Hear, hear. And Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky declared Congress should stop printing bailout cash because the U.S. can manage this disease without the draconian lockdown of the economy. Announcing his opposition to the stimulus in no uncertain terms, he told colleagues, "We can't continue on this course." At the same time, Paul noted that he has not invoked the Senate rules to require a vote by roll call and was present only so that history would record that not every senator favored spending $484 billion. Thank you, Rand. Representative Steny Hoyer, the House Majority Leader, said on a conference call with reporters that House votes would take place Thursday. He said the House will also vote on a proposal to allow proxy voting during the pandemic, a first for Congress, which has required in-person business essentially since its founding. The New Deal, which came days after delays driven by Democrats' demands, would provide more than $300 billion for the PPP. $60 billion or so was to be set aside and divided equally for smaller banks and community lenders that seek to focus on underbanked neighborhoods and rural areas. Another $60 billion would be available for small business loans and grants programs delivered through an existing small business disaster aid program, $10 billion of which would come in the form of direct grants. So, small business funding ran out of money again, and the Democrats found a way to stuff more and more pork into it. Terrific. I hope you guys enjoy that $7 gallon of milk that's going to be coming here in the near future. $25 Little Debbie snacks and stuff like that, because that's going to be coming. All right. So, top story from Axios today. New data shows first U.S. coronavirus death earlier than thought. This is from Rebecca Falconer. Santa Clara County Public Health in California announced Tuesday that autopsy results found a patient who died on February 6 had the novel coronavirus. The first known death from COVID-19 in the U.S. was declared on February 29th to be a patient in Washington state. A second person who died in Santa Clara on February 17th was also found to have the virus. Santa Clara County Executive Jeff Smith said the origins of the case and another on March 6th were believed to be within the community, suggesting transmissions in the area occurred much earlier than previously thought, according to the Mercury News. The Santa Clara County Public Health statement said the medical examiner coroner received confirmation from the CDC that tissue samples from both February cases are positive for SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, the Santa Clarita County Public Health statement said. Additionally, the medical examiner coroner has also confirmed that an individual who died in the county on March 6th died of COVID-19. These three individuals died at home during a time when very limited testing was available, only through the CDC. Testing criteria set by the CDC at the time restricted the testing to only individuals with a known travel history and who sought medical care for specific symptoms. As the medical examiner coroner continues to carefully investigate the deaths throughout the county, we anticipate additional deaths from COVID-19 will be identified. So, my first question on this, of course, is going to be, are they going to be deaths with COVID-19 or deaths from COVID-19? Because that does seem to be a big difference there, but it is also scary to think that the numbers were covered up because this was supposedly in the United States long before we ever thought that it was. Once again, we thought that the first cases and deaths were coming out of Washington State weeks and weeks later than what they actually were. So this is something that I would actually pay attention to and see what kind of numbers they try and force into this because, now that we're seeing the antibodies and we're seeing the death rates plummet to sub 1% numbers, I do have a feeling that there's going to be some sort of agenda to try and pad those numbers back up. But we shall see what happens with this. All right, from Fox News. Coronavirus could have a deadlier second wave later this year, CDC director warns. This is from Vandana Rambaran over at Fox. The head of the Centers for Disease Control is warning that a second wave of coronavirus could coincide with the start of the flu season, proving to be even more devastating than the enduring COVID-19 pandemic. CDC Director Robert Redfield told the Washington Post in an interview Tuesday that the nation should be more cautious, even as some states attempt to reopen their economies in the coming weeks and continue to practice social distancing measures to mitigate the spread of the virus. Redfield stressed that the practice has had an enormous impact on containing the outbreak, but said Americans need to plan ahead and consider getting a flu shot in the summer so that when winter comes, hospitals are not once again overburdened. A flu shot, huh? He added that the precaution may allow there to be a hospital bed available for your mother or grandmother that may get the coronavirus. The coronavirus pandemic has overcrowded hospitals around the world and across the country, taxed the capacity of morgues, and exposed the shortage of ventilators and protective equipment for healthcare workers and others on the front lines of the virus. Redfield said that in order to avoid a repeat of the horrors of this pandemic, which has killed 43,630 people and infected 804,194 others in the U.S. alone, the CDC is beefing up the workforce that is dealing with public health issues to accommodate and adequately plan for a second onslaught. The agency plans to add an additional 650 personnel to the already existing 500 staff members across the nation to substantially augment the public health response when all of the states begin to roll back stay-at-home restrictions and people re-enter the workforce and resume daily life. So that's going to be a fun side effect from this whole COVID thing is we've got another government agency that just found an excuse to bloat itself even further. Still more workers are needed, and the CDC is weighing utilizing field workers intended for the Census Bureau, which suspended operations until May due to the coronavirus outbreak, as well as the Peace Corps and AmeriCorps, to establish an alternative workforce, it said. Well, we've been told that this was going to be 2 million people dead by this point in time, and everybody was going to be sick, and we'd never be able to get out of the economy. And I mean, we're looking at numbers now here, and now we've actually got the opportunity to prepare properly for a second outbreak. So let it come, I guess. If it's going to come, let it come, because we've got a chance. We know how this is going to react this time. We've got practice. But we will see what happens out of this. For those of you who are fans of Beauty and the Beta, we will make sure that we never tell Blonde in the Belly of the Beast about this. Coronavirus. Idaho mother's arrest at closed playgrounds area sparks protest. This is from David Arrow. The arrest of an Idaho mother who allegedly refused to leave a playground area closed by the coronavirus pandemic sparked a protest at Meridian Hall Tuesday. According to multiple reports, Sarah Brady, of 40, was allegedly captured on video telling an officer to arrest her as she participated in a smaller planned protest at the park with a group of people and her 2 children nearby, according to reports. "Arrest me for being difficult. Do it. Record it," she was allegedly heard saying. Police gave her a count of 5 to leave, according to Boise's KTVB. The city of Meridian has closed its playgrounds last month to limit the spread of coronavirus, which was previously determined to live up to 2 to 3 days on plastics, the material of the playground slide, the station reported. Police said the metal signage and caution tape at the park was removed, and they observed numerous individuals gathered on the closed playground area. Meridian officials made several attempts to help Brady adhere to the rules, police said in a statement. She was non-compliant and forced officers to place her under arrest to resolve the issue. She was arrested for trespassing. Has there been any report of a small blonde woman who was 9 months pregnant out there on a hormone rage? Any reports of that at all? Officers informed those protesting at the park several times that the play structure was closed, adding that they could use the other areas of the park if they wanted to, police said. As officers placed handcuffs on Brady, another woman was heard saying, "Her kids are here! Her kids are here! What's going to happen? Who's got her kids?" the Blaze reported. The Idaho Freedom Foundation said the park protest was planned according to the station. The group has an ongoing list of places they plan on demonstrating and protest against the state's stay-at-home order. And, of course, there's so many on the left that are pissed off about this because protesting is supposed to be their sole region that they run from. So we can't let the right protest. That's appalling. It's supposed to be our protests. But the protests are going to start coming here as we look into this. And as this goes further, and as more and more people are trapped in their homes without due process. I had some lawyer on Twitter try to get me trapped up in an idea of due process and tried to say that this wasn't imprisonment. And once I trapped him into saying that my rights were being deprived without due process, he had to pretend like he didn't understand what I was saying. So let's move on with that. This is an interesting story. Fox News falls out of love with hydroxychloroquine. This is from Oliver Darcy over at CNN Business. Fox News has fallen out of love with hydroxychloroquine after weeks of unrelenting coverage hyping the anti-malarial drug as a potential game-changing treatment for the coronavirus. The network has all but stopped mentioning it on its airwaves. So has President Trump. The quiet abandonment of hydroxychloroquine comes as studies indicate it is not as an effective treatment against the coronavirus. A French study found last week that the drug does not help patients with the virus, and on Tuesday, a study of hundreds of patients at U.S. Veterans Health Administration medical centers found that patients who took hydroxychloroquine were no less likely to need ventilation and had higher death rates than those who didn't take the drug. Will anyone who breathlessly pitched hydroxychloroquine as a miracle drug show a modicum of regret or even self-awareness over this? Doubtful. Daily Beast Sam Stein predicted. More likely, they'll ignore the study entirely. Stein appears to have been right on the money. Despite having previously pushed the drug as a possible treatment, neither Tucker Carlson nor Sean Hannity mentioned the study on their Fox News shows on Tuesday night. I didn't see Laura Ingraham, who reportedly visited the White House to promote the drug, discuss it either. Fox published a digital story on the Tuesday study, but it fell off the website's homepage after a few hours, and so, according to CNN's Betsy Klein, Trump hasn't mentioned it in a week. You know, you guys haven't mentioned it either, and if it was really that bad as you were saying, that would be top headline for you, instead of a story buried 3 or 4 lines down somewhere. So, honestly, CNN, go and get bent. So here's an interesting story, and I don't have anything to work with it on this because there hasn't been any coverage of this, which obviously there's not going to be, but something I want to point out because I know Midget B watches this show either at the time or after the fact, and I know he's big into 4chan here, but apparently Bill Gates got hacked by 4chan. Bill Gates, WHO, and a lab in Wuhan, China accounts hacked. The truth behind the coronavirus outbreak may be coming out and will not be what people are expecting. Let's wait and see. #GatesHacked. And we see a few other different things that are about this over on Twitter here. It was a trending hashtag here. And on the other side of it, of course, because it came from 4chan, they're trying to discount it because WB Obara says, looks like it's loony bin o'clock again on the timeline. Gates hacked is perhaps proof that humanity's true invisible enemy isn't COVID-19, but willful ignorance. We could be the first species that wipes itself out in a blaze of self-destructive misinformation and clickbait. And there are some 4chan posts out here, and I would like to see what happens when some of this gets out, if it's allowed to get out into more mainstream news. But like I said, I'll be having a conversation with Midget B and seeing what he knows about this because I know that he does like 4chan. Alright, next story. Whitmer backtracks after COVID-19 contract awarded to Dem consultant who said Trump should get coronavirus ASAP. This is from Greg Ree. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration acknowledged Tuesday that normal protocols were bypassed when a no-bid contract for coronavirus contact tracing was awarded by the state to Great Lakes Community Engagement, which is operated by a well-known Democratic consultant, Michael Kohlhaas. Excuse me for a moment. Who has previously written that President Trump should get coronavirus ASAP and that someone should do the country a favor and cough on that man. Facebook post reviewed by Fox News shows. The Washington Free Beacon reported earlier Tuesday that Michigan gave a separate contract to track the spread of the coronavirus to Every Action VAN, a division of the Democratic Data Operation NGP-VAN. The contract for Great Lakes Community Engagement, which would total $200,000 over 8 weeks, was to be executed in coordination with Every Action, which is tightly linked to NGP-VAN's operation. The state abruptly canceled the contract Tuesday. Nearly every major Democratic campaign in America is powered by NGP-VAN software, including the Obama campaign's Voter Contact, volunteer, fundraising, and compliance operations in all 50 states. The NGP-VAN boasts on its website. The Washington Post has described NGP-VAN as the voter file provider for Democratic campaigns and independent groups and down ballot. NGP Van has previously exposed the secretive and proprietary information due to technical glitches, the Washington Post has reported, including when a software patch was improperly applied. The contracts raised concerns that Whitmer's administration was tying confidential health information to a political data gathering operation and that Whitmer was a rising star, floated as a possible vice presidential candidate, had circumvented the state's normal process for awarding key financial resources. This is who Governor Whitmer is giving the state contracts to, the GOP chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. I want to know how Governor Whitmer's administration decided to hire this company without a competitive bid process or letting the legislature, charged with ensuring accountability within the state government, know about it, wrote GOP State Representative Shane Hernandez in a letter to Whitmer that was first reported by the Detroit News. I want to know what safeguards the governor has in place to ensure that the information gathered during this COVID-19 response doesn't wind up in the hands of any campaigners. Whitmer's office told Fox News that neither Cole House's operation nor NGP Van should have gotten the funds, but didn't explain how the purported mistake had occurred in the first place. I don't think it was a mistake. I just think that she got caught. And I'm pretty sure that anybody watching this program would agree with me on this one here, because once again, she's trying to stay in the news, so she is that top level pick for the vice presidency. I'm pretty positive that's what she's vying for at this point. And as if to confirm what I was saying here, a CNN article, this is from CNN Opinion obviously, Biden must choose the woman in Michigan, from David A. Andelman. There's only one winnable choice for Joe Biden's vice president pick, the woman in Michigan, as our incumbent president calls Gretchen Whitmer. What the American people, not to mention the world, want and need in these dangerous times is a person who, if necessary, can slip seamlessly into the job of president amid a global crisis. That is a scary, scary thought right there of itself. That has to mean a governor rather than a senator. No senator, with the possible exception of Mitt Romney, has the managerial chops to step in and assume control on a moment's notice of the world's largest corporation, the U.S. government. Wait, weren't we saying that the U.S. is not a corporation? Just 4 years ago when Trump was running for the presidency and winning? Was that not what they said? Currently careening toward utter disaster. The staff budgets of a senator are pocket change compared to the federal budgets. If a senator represents a state with a population larger than 28 million, their budget maxes out at 4.6 million for administrative, clerical, and legislative staff, and less than 500,000 for rented offices. Moreover, with legislative staff salaries topping out at more than 170,000 a year, the size of senators' offices are quite circumscribed. The U.S. budget managed by the president has risen to $4.8 trillion under President Trump's fiscal 2021 budget request. And that's before the $2 trillion more are authorized by the recent coronavirus bailout bill. The workforce the president manages is estimated to be just about 4.3 million people. By contrast, America's largest private employer, Walmart, has 1.5 million workers in the U.S., dwarfing the number two, Amazon, with about 750,000. In comparison, Michigan's government totals 46,000 workers with a budget in excess of $61.9 billion. At the same time, this person must have an understanding of the world and America's place in it. Last November, Governor Whitmer deftly led a trade mission to Israel, signing an agreement to connect Israel business to Michigan. In the months before the current administration officially withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord, she reformed her state's own Department of Environmental Quality, clearly embracing global vision for modern environmental practices. She's not reluctant to unleash the power brandished so flagrantly and irresponsible by Donald Trump. No. She's very reluctant to unleash that power. Look at her state right now. Seriously. Her first mission after the pandemic and that of Joe Biden must be to return America to the community of democratic nations and the COP21 World Environment Treaty. Certainly, any number of choices for vice president would serve more effectively than the incumbents occupying the presidency and vice presidency, but it must be a governor who represents the heartland and must be a woman, as Biden himself has pledged. That leaves only 3 candidates: Whitmer, New Mexico's Michelle Lujan Grisham, and Laura Kelly of Kansas. My vote is for Whitmer. While the Democratic Party's progressive base may need mobilizing with the withdrawal of two senators, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, it's clear that in 2018 midterm congressional elections, it was the suburban soccer moms and minorities who came out in force to bring the House over to the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi to the speakership. Was it though? Because I'm pretty sure that there was some other fucky things going on there. But we're not going to throw the tinfoil on at this point. These suburban voters and industrial workers, especially in the Midwest heartland, are what the party needs to keep cultivating. Joe Biden must win Michigan, New York, Massachusetts, and both coasts are a lock. Besides, any progressive worth his or her salt will recognize that sending Trump packing is essential at any cost. Because then we can move socialism in without a capitalist, booming our economy. Whitmer's website describes her as a lawyer. There it is. There's the problem. An educator, former prosecutor, state representative, and senator. She was the first woman to lead a Senate caucus. But the most important title she boasts is Mom. In other words, she checks all the boxes. The state she heads is the heartland of the American auto industry, with a truly global reach and broader aspirations. She served for more than 20 years, far more experience than New Mexico's Grisham, for instance, in 3 terms in Congress and 15 months as a governor. Yeah, she's been a governor for exactly 5 seconds. So, I do think that this is who they're going to pick. I've heard other reports that it's going to be Michelle, but Fox News reports that that may not be a possibility. No chance Michelle Obama will be Biden's running mate, Valerie Jarrett says. This is from Bree Stimson. And I picked this article because it was informed to me in a Discord chat that from a reliable source, it was going to be Michelle Obama. But now they're trying to come out and say that it isn't. There's no chance for former First Lady Michelle Obama to be former Vice President Joe Biden's running mate. Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor in the Obama administration, said, according to a report, speculation has swirled that Mrs. Obama, who is one of the most popular figures in the Democratic Party, likely eclipsing her husband, could be a strategic choice for Biden. But Jarrett, who has the longest-serving advisor to former President Obama and a longtime friend of the couple, said, it's not happening. Excuse me. The reason why I'm being so unequivocal is that there just simply has never been a time when she's expressed an interest in running for office, she told The Hill. She's not demurring there. She's not being hard to get. She doesn't want the job. In a presidential debate last month, Biden promised to choose a female running mate, but Monday he told KDKA TV in Pittsburgh he would take Michelle Obama in a heartbeat, but he added he didn't think she has any desire to live near the White House again. Of course he would take her. That's not the question, Jarrett told The Hill. The question is this the way in which she wants to continue her life of service? The former First Lady's popularity may be due in part to often staying out of the political fray. There is a difference between being a public servant and being a politician, and she has no interest in being a politician, while a politician is supposed to be a public servant. Let's not forget that they work for us, Jarrett told The Hill. Her husband was interested in being both. She is only interested in the service component. Former President Obama endorsed Biden last week, and the former First Lady is now talking with Biden's team about rolling out her endorsement. Who gives a fuck? And what role she would play in the campaign, which could include video fundraising appearances along with get out the vote and voter registration efforts. In 2018, she started a campaign called When We All Vote, which includes celebrities like Lin-Manuel Miranda and Tom Hanks. Only one of the two of those I even know who is. Howard Gutman, who worked in the Obama administration, told The Hill Biden's team would take anything they can get from her, but it's a question of how much she and her family want to be out there in the crossfire. Biden told James Corden on his show early Wednesday morning that his team is launching a committee of advisors to help narrow down VP prospects to 2 or 3 by July. The most important quality for a vice president is someone who, if I walked away immediately from office for whatever reason, that they can be president tomorrow, Biden told Corden when asked about the qualities he's looking for in a running mate. This is getting a little bit fucky here, people. He's already talking about walking away from the presidency. This is a setup, and I don't trust a word of this suddenly. Wow. I don't want to get tinfoily, but this is starting to look like a setup to get the first woman president appointed. I don't like any of this. All right. Last one here. Rob Gronkowski agrees to come out of retirement to play in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. Tight end Rob Gronkowski, who is currently retired from the New England Patriots, has agreed to return to the NFL as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as part of a trade, according to the Buccaneers and Gronkowski's agent. He will once again play with the quarterback Tom Brady, who recently signed with Tampa Bay. Gronkowski is one of the best tight ends in the NFL history, and he plays the game with the type of passion and desire that sets him apart. Buccaneers general manager Jason Licht said, Rob has played his entire career alongside Tom Brady, and their accomplishments speak for themselves. The Buccaneers sent a fourth-round selection, number 139 overall, in the 2020 NFL Draft in exchange for Gronkowski and a 2020 seventh-round pick, number 241 overall. Pending the physical, Rob has agreed to play for the Tampa this season. Agent Drew Rosenhaus told CNN he will honor his current contract at this time. Gronkowski has 1 year left of his current contract, which is worth $10 million. New England has not responded to CNN's inquiry. The trade would reunite Gronkowski with Brady, who signed with Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a free agent on March 20th after 20 seasons with New England. Gronkowski played 9 seasons for the Patriots alongside Brady. The duo were teammates on 3 Super Bowl champion teams in 2014, 2016, and 2018 seasons, though Gronkowski missed the 2016 Super Bowl due to injury. Speaking on ESPN SportsCenter Tuesday night, Rosenhaus said the discussions began shortly after Brady went to Tampa. Gronkowski and the agent agreed it would be an appealing situation. So, I guess Tampa is going to be the luckiest team in America at this point. So, they're getting Brady, they're getting Gronkowski, and we will see if Brady can hold up just as well as he did. I know that this is going to be a huge help to him, and it's not just Brady. He's got a team behind him, but with Gronkowski out there, he's got part of the team that did carry him as far as he did. And we will have the chance to see if it's actually Brady or if it is the New England Patriots that is the team that is going to be the best in the NFL. But we will see. And I just thought that was interesting. Like I said, New England got very, very lucky, and I'm interested to see what they're going to do now that they don't have Tom Brady. I know that they're going to stay very patriotic to their Patriots team, as they do with the Red Sox, even when New England is in its lowest point. They continue to be very, very enthusiastic for their sports team. So the support's not going to go away for New England, but it's definitely going to be a change now that they're not going to be the team that's always winning. So we will see that. And we will move on to something that I am thankful for, and then we will head on out of here because I've got to go to work. So I've been looking back over a few things here, and I've had to cut down a little bit here. We had the hours cut coming back, which I used to take some time to work from Freedom Scoop, and we added another show in that time, and everybody came out and opened up their wallets to make sure that people that were on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic had a little bit of money to help support them out of here. So I look back and I'm thankful for humanity in the United States and the spirit that we have out here. I've often said that even if we get into the bottom, if we get into the tank and nobody can go to work anymore because all the businesses shut down, we have an entrepreneurial spirit in this country that new entrepreneurs are going to step up and take over these businesses. It's going to be a shake for sure, but we can definitely do it and come out of it. I look at the stock market now, I look at what it's doing to the economy, and I look at now a JP Morgan official, an analyst coming out and saying that even though they said that we're going to come out into the greatest of the Great Depressions going into the year, now we're looking at being better than ever in this country. I look at all that and I'm thankful to live in this country where we're free to do things, where we're free to pick our elected officials, and even if our elected officials suck, we can still manage to come together and do things for ourselves. And if some of the elected officials, like Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, do decide that they want to put the heel down even harder, we will still find a way out of it. We've got the freedom of movement in this country, which if we do wind up living in a state with a draconian lockdown like I am currently, we can go and seek other opportunities elsewhere that aren't so draconian. We have an incredibly fluid nation. We've got a free nation, and we've got an entrepreneurial nation, and we will rise back to the top of the world once again. We just have to make sure that we do it right for our own society and our own individual collectives throughout the country. And that is what I'm thankful for as we go forward. So, we will be back here later on tonight. I know I skipped Edgeworld Gaming last night, so we're going to do it tonight. We're going to do some more Lonesome Road, and I'm really getting into the story that we're getting into tonight. So, I will be a little bit behind because I'm going to stop and get some dinner on the way because we are back to 40 hours a week at my job. So, I have to work until an hour later than I had been. But we'll come back, we'll play some video games, and we'll wind down. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.